You ever see something in the sky and just know it saw you back? I thought it was over when I got home. But that's when it really began. It started with a flash. Not thunder, not lightning, just a silent burst of white light that lit up the inside of my car, like daylight for half a second. I was driving alone. Country road, midnight. No other cars, no wind, no bugs, just quiet. Too quiet. I looked up through the windshield. There it was. Something in the sky. Not moving, not blinking, just hovering, way above the tree line. My first thought was drone, but this thing wasn't buzzing. It was dead silent. I slowed the car without realizing it. There was something wrong with how it looked. It wasn't reflecting light. It was giving it off. Then it shifted. Not moved. Shifted. 1 second it was above the trees. The next, it was above the road, like it skipped through space. My hands tightened on the wheel. I didn't stop to take a picture. I didn't even stop breathing. I hit the gas, and I didn't look in the mirror, because I knew it was still there. The moment I stepped out of the car, I knew something wasn't right. Not just the sky, not just the lights. Everything felt still. Not quiet. Still. The crickets were gone. No wind through the trees. Even the leaves looked like they'd frozen mid-sway. I walked up to my porch. That's when I noticed it. The porch light was off, but I hadn't turned it off. I checked my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi. The battery said 83%, but the screen was glitching, flickering like it was underwater. I heard a sound then, faint, static. I turned around. There was nothing behind me, just the road, the woods, and sky. But the sound got louder. It wasn't coming from my phone. It was coming from the trees. A soft crackling like radio static. Then, a single whisper. You saw it. I locked the door behind me, checked it twice. I even pulled the curtain shut, like that would help. The lights flickered once, then stayed on, but everything felt off. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, thumb hovering over the emergency dial. 3:12 a.m. That's when I heard it. A soft scratch right outside my bedroom window. Then another. And then a whisper. It wasn't English. It wasn't even words. Just sounds that felt too precise to be random. I stood up, my feet cold against the floor. The scratching stopped. But something was still there. Breathing. Not heavy like a person. Software thin. Like an insect pretending to be human. Then the window pane flexed. Not broke. Not cracked. Flexed. Something was leaning into it. From the outside. And then, it tapped the glass. Once. I didn't sleep. Not really. When I opened my eyes, it was noon. Sunlight poured in, but it didn't feel safe. It felt wrong. Like it was covering something up. I walked over to the window. The glass still had that mark. A warped fingerprint, pressed from the outside. I stepped out onto the porch. The world looked normal, but the silence wasn't. Then I saw it. In the field, a perfect circle. Flattened grass, not trampled, not burned, just pressed, like something hovered there. I walked closer. My shoes sunk softly into the grass. Everything felt heavier. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but when I pulled it out, black screen, no battery, no logo, just dead. That's when I heard it. A sound. High-pitched, constant, like static. It was coming from the tree line. I looked up. The birds were flying in slow circles, only over my house. That night, I felt like I was being watched, but not through the window, from inside. I turned off the lights, but the room wasn't fully dark. A faint glow was coming from the wall. I moved closer. It wasn't a reflection. It wasn't light from outside. There was something burned into the paint. A black spiral mark. Perfectly round. Too clean to be natural. Too precise to be human. I reached out. Didn't even touch it. And my fingers went cold. Like frost. Suddenly, the TV in the living room turned on. No sound. Just static. I stepped back, heart racing, and the glow on the wall. It pulsed. Once. Like it was breathing. That night, I didn't bother trying to sleep. I just waited. Midnight came and went. 1 a.m., 2. And then, the lights returned. Outside my window, the sky turned white. Not flashing, just glowing. Steady, blinding light. I pulled back the curtain, and there it was. Not a light, not even several. An entire shape, suspended, above my house. A long, dark silhouette outlined by that unearthly glow. No noise, no movement. I grabbed my phone to film it, but the screen stayed black. The light was pouring in through the walls now. No source, no direction, just everywhere. And beneath the hum, beneath the silence, I could hear footsteps inside the house. When I woke up, I was on the kitchen floor, fully dressed, shoes on, keys still in my hand. The clock said 4:37 a.m. The last thing I remember was sitting on the couch at 2:03. That's over 2 hours. Gone. I stood up slowly. Everything ached, like I'd run miles. But my legs weren't sore. My chest was, like I'd been held down. I checked the front door. Locked. Windows? Shut. Phone? Still dead. But the kitchen table had moved, at least a foot from where it was. On the floor beside it, a small black mark, like ash. And on the ceiling above it, a handprint, but it had 6 fingers. I sat in the living room, just staring at the black screen of my phone. No blinking light, no charging symbol, just nothing. Then, the speakers on my bookshelf hissed. Not loudly, just enough to make the silence worse. The static wasn't random. It was patterned, like something trying to talk. I leaned in, and I swear it spoke. Not in words, in tones, pulses, low, high, pause, high, low, again and again. Then the room got cold, the kind of cold that settles in your bones. I tried to move, but I couldn't, and that's when I heard it. From behind the wall, a voice. This time, it was words. Clear. Software. We were here first. I locked the front door, turned the deadbolt, chained it, pushed a chair up against it. I checked every window, every closet, every room, no sign of entry, but I felt it. Something was here. Something had come in. The lights in the hallway flickered. The air smelled wrong, like metal and static and wet concrete. Then the bathroom light turned on, by itself. I walked to the hallway, slowly. The floor creaked with every step, but I wasn't making the noise. Something else was walking too, right behind the wall, mirroring me, step for step. Then I saw it, just for a second. In the mirror above the sink, not my reflection. Something taller, thinner, standing behind me. And then it wasn't. I didn't sleep, I didn't move. I sat on the floor and waited for the sun. It came, but it didn't feel like morning. It felt like a pause, like they were giving me a break. My phone was still dead. No signal, no sound. But the spiral on the wall, it was gone. Just bare paint now. For a second, I thought maybe I was free. until I looked out the window. Across the street, my neighbor was standing in his yard, perfectly still. He raised his hand, but not to wave. It was just held up, like a signal or a command. And then, every light in my house turned on at once. The fridge, the oven, the hallway, even the ceiling fan started spinning. And outside, the sky wasn't blue anymore. It was blinking. If you made it this far, you saw what I saw. You heard it too. So tell me in the comments, what do you think they want? Like this video if you felt them watching. Subscribe before they follow you home. And if you want to know when they return, hit the bell, because next time, they might not just watch.